Welcome to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host, Omar, and we talk about leadership in the boutique retail world, right? We're talking about smaller companies, we're talking about things like wireless retail, we're talking about furniture, AV, appliance, we're talking about everything outside of your big box retail, okay? And today I want to talk about something that kind of been popping up because with everything going on, right? Uh, Obviously, right now we're in Q4 in 2025, and we're seeing something different that a lot of y'all haven't really gone through, which is a downturn when everything else is being told to you that, hey, it's not as bad as it seems. Obviously, we know the difference. We see it in real time, and there's you know different, you can call it flutterings, right? Different signs that, hey, maybe it's not. We see, maybe a push in traffic at some locations and, downturn other locations. That's beyond the scope of what we're going to be talking today. What we're going to be talking today is something that's crucial to you as a leader, especially if like you're in wireless retail, you're trying to grow into like a DM role. What you need to really understand is that in these smaller companies, these smaller organizations, there's going to be two type of district managers, right? And I'm not saying that every company has this. I'm saying that there's two types of district managers, and one type of company has one, and the other type has another. Okay, the two type of operate of district managers are an operational district manager, and then a sales district manager. Your larger companies, your larger big box retail organizations, those are going to have more of an operational district manager because they need to make sure the operations at their size are on point, because if it's not, doesn't matter how well they do on the front end on the sales side, the operations are going to kill their business. Okay, so they're not focused on driving sales. That's not what they see themselves as doing. They'll talk about it, but they could care less, right? And in our day and age, what you're seeing a lot of big box retail companies try to do is move to more of a sales mindset, but they're not geared for that. They're not set up for that. They're structurally not there. So it is a lot of the old guard fighting with the new guard as they bleed out. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the smaller companies. We're talking about things like wireless retail. We're talking about AV, appliances. We're talking about companies that have smaller footprints overall, right? And really, you're not working with a lot of people at your locations. What you're doing is you're a sales district manager, right? You're focused on driving sales. And that's going to be the biggest difference. Yes, you take care of operations, but the operational side, you have other departments that typically handle that for y'all. You're focused on driving the sales. Okay, that's the main thing. You're there. You probably grew because, you know, within the organization or within the industry, because you're great at sales, you understood, the differences in the, how to be able to present, how to be able to pitch, close, more importantly, follow up. You moved into a leadership role, you did great, you improved sales, and now you're trying to get into an area manager or district role. And the focus is to improve and grow sales. It's not to maintain. It's not to, make sure the operations are sound. Because operations, if that's all you focus on and you don't focus on the sales, you're not going to grow the market. You're not going to grow the district, and they're going to look past you, right? They might keep you on for a while because, hey, we at least we don't have to worry about it as long as the numbers don't dip, right? Because we have a certain threshold where we can afford this and it's okay, but we really need growth, right? And as a sales district manager, you really have three focuses that you want to pay attention to really grow what you're doing. The first and most important is you got to drive sales. You got to help improve sales one way or the other. The second, which is going to really help on the first, is to reduce churn. And I'm not just talking about like churn when it comes to returns, DX, canceled orders, things like that. I'm talking about, more importantly, employee churn, right? Employee retention. Learning to focus on that and how to improve it, how to reduce the number of people that you have that leave for things that we can control, okay? Because there are certain things we can't. For instance, if you just don't have the number of open roles for somebody to be able to move up in within where they want to stay, you can't control that, right? But there are other factors that you can control and you can actually have a direct impact on. And the third, which you can't really do until you've really focused on the first two, is grow your relationships with the partners. Your excuse me, your vendor partners are going to be a huge part of that, and you can't have that extra time to really grow and focus on those relationships if you're trying to be the hero and, oh, I can't do something because I got to go to this location, I got to visit these stores because I got to help them on the sales floor to make sure that they actually sell, to make sure they actually hit numbers. You're doing yourself a disservice. You're really putting yourself thin because your team can't operate without you. That's what you're saying. So what the fuck is your team doing? More importantly, what are you doing to make sure you're growing your team? If they can't perform when you're not there and they perform best when you're there, it's not your team. You are the issue. You are the problem. You just don't want to accept it. And there's ways to get out of that. And if you're wondering how you can do it, take a look at the description of the video and grab that framework. Start using it. Something as simple as that 15-minute framework is going to start to free up a lot of your time. We've talked about being able to do, a commission pay plan structure, compensation talk, where you break that down. Go through the playlist and find that video if you haven't, right? Learn to do it, because then that starts painting clearer pictures for your teams and they start to understand more of what they need to focus on, what they need to really get after in order for them to really perform well. It starts to click, something changes. And it's little things that you do that make a huge difference. And that's what you need to focus on with your teams. If all you're doing is focusing on operations, if all you're doing is trying to step in on the actual sales floor to sell for them, you're doing them the service. When I used to be a DM, one of my biggest things is on Fridays and Saturdays. I was not at locations after a certain hour. Why? Because I was a distraction to the team rather than, a performance enhancer. And yeah, I would sell. Yeah, I could sell. Yeah, I could jump in and I could help them. But then what did that do to them when I wasn't around? So you take yourself out of the equation in that respect and you let them step up to the occasion. You give them the ability to actually step up and get to that bar that you've been setting for them. And that starts to make a huge difference in their performance, because then they start to see, okay, I actually have this. I can do this. And that belief is where the confidence starts to really come in. They have to be able to do it on their own without you jumping in to save it. Okay. And we've talked about this. A lot of y'all think that you got to motivate. And then that's when the skills are going to start to develop and they're going to start to perform. No, the motivation comes after. You do the hard work, you do work. And as you start to see results of what you're doing, the confidence, the motivation to do it and to continue it starts to build on its own. And now it becomes an actual habit loop, because they know, okay, if I do this, I will start to see the results. I want to do more of that. Instead of, I just need to do this. I just need to do this. Trying to pump themselves up to do what? They're not seeing the results. So they're not going to continue, because they think that what they did, that little ritual, that little habit loop of the motivation first, and then not seeing the results. No, you got to do the work first. You got to put that in. And that's why it's important for you as a leader to be able to step away, step aside, and allow your team to be able to grow, to be able to perform. And that's what it means to drive sales. You don't drive sales by you working 60, 80 hours a week, thinking that you are going to be the reason why they close more. You're going to be the reason why they learn to do a lot better than what they're doing. But you have to start with showcasing. You have to start with training them, coaching them, mentoring, guiding them, right? And that 15-minute framework gives you a really straightforward way to be able to do that. Then from there, as you start to train, to motivate your team, to coach them, you're going to start to notice a secondary thing, which is the churn rates, the number of people leaving, will reduce. You're going to notice that some of your poor performers are actually performing very well. And you're like, what happened? Somebody took it upon themselves to actually showcase to them that, hey, you're capable of doing this. You could do this. It's within your grasp. You have it. Let me help you get there. I want you to succeed. And you might be saying, well, those positive affirmations, it's not a positive affirmation. You're speaking the future into existence. You're telling your people that one, they matter. Two, you believe in them. Three, you're going to do everything within your power to help them succeed because you want them to succeed. And that's the important thing. Okay. So you have to really push that. And that's going to help reduce that churn. And that's going to be super important for your team. And then once you're able to do that, you're going to start to notice I can start taking more time off, right? Not to whatever, right? In the sense that I don't physically have to be there to make sure shit gets done. I don't physically have to be there to make sure the store performs well. Okay? And what that allows you to do is actually start building better relationships with different partners. It could be, with different chambers. It could be with different BNI groups. It could be with different associations. It could be with your vendors, right? With your carriers. And you're able to spend more time with them to really build those relationships, those bonds, right? In wireless retail, as you get better relationships with your carrier partners, you're going to start to notice that, hey, we're getting more opportunity for growth. We're getting told there's more. Why? Because now they have faith in you. They've seen what you can do. And they see the performance is there without you physically having to be at the locations. And your locations don't look like trash. Your people are actually presentable and they want to be there. They start to see that and that matters to them. Your partner vendors in AV and appliances as well, they start to see that. So they start recommending more. Guess what? They also have customers that go directly to them. So they can be able to, hey, you know what? I got a great partner over here. Let me introduce you to them. You start getting those referrals, right? Hey, you know what? I got a partner over here that's looking to close. They want to close their doors in this area because whatever is happening. You start to get those referrals as well. You start to get that opportunity for growth. And that's what starts to set you aside as a DM to really help you move into a bigger role within your organization, to a different director role. Okay. And you have to do the first things first, right? You have to focus on driving sales by having a way to actually empower your people. And you do that how? Through training, through coaching, guiding them, you're mentoring them. Once you start to do that, you're going to start to see that your churn is going to go down. Not just in the employee churn rate, right? The employee retention, but also in the sales. You're going to start to notice that you have less, unpaid. You have less cancellations. You have less fraud, right? Because one, your people fucking care about what they're doing. Two, they're setting better expectations. Three, they're stepping up and they're truly taking ownership of a lot of these different things. And your customers appreciate that and your employees appreciate that because now they have a sense of responsibility and they're not being treated like kids. These are fucking adults, guys. You gotta treat them with respect. You, as a leader, need to treat your people with respect. Don't expect them to treat you with respect because when you go into a leadership role, you still mean shit because you haven't shown your team what you're capable of doing. Especially if you've had to move, if you relocated to take these, this different role. They don't know you. They don't know anything that you've done. The leadership of the organization does. And they'll speak for you on their behalf. But you need to first step up and really showcase what you can do so that they can have that belief in you. Okay? And then when you start showing that you have that belief in them and you will do everything within your power to help them succeed, that's when you start to see different results from your teams. And it goes a very long way. And that's when they'll start showing you respect. Don't demand respect from your team first because you haven't done anything for them to show you that, okay? For them to owe you that. You owe your team that. Because especially if you're going in and you have 9+ doors, if all of them up and left in one day, How is one individual going to manage 9 locations? Trust me, organization would rather lose you than lose the people at those locations. Those are just facts. And your partners are going to be the same thing. They would rather see you gone than have to worry about 9 doors not having staffing because one individual came in and demanded from their team instead of setting the expectation, setting the bar, and helping their teams elevate to that level and beyond. Okay. So as a DM, especially with the smaller organizations, especially, if you're talking about furniture, wireless, AV, appliances, okay, things of that nature, understand you're really not focused as an operational person. Operations, yeah, you're going to have that. More importantly, you need to learn to drive sales. And driving sales, guide, mentor, and train them. Reduce churn and grow your partner relationships. Those are the 3 things you want to focus on in order to have a much better standing and much better opportunities for you in that role. And you're going to see how much that's going to affect your growth. Okay. And once you start doing it, you're going to realize it's fast, it's simpler than what you thought it was going to be, and the results are going to be fucking amazing. So don't hesitate. Once the video's up, grab that resource in the description. And if you have any questions in the meantime, reach out to me directly. Yeah, you can follow me on the socials. Don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button. I want to say, guys, thanks once again for stepping into another episode here at the Sales Manager Academy podcast. I'm Omar, and I'll catch you on the next one.